This happened 4 summers ago, and I still don't know if I should even be telling it. My name is Rachel, and I was 21 at the time. I had just finished my junior year of college, and I wanted one last big adventure before senior year started. My best friend, Emma, suggested a cabin trip in northern Pennsylvania. There was this place her cousin had mentioned, Devil's Hollow. I know, the name should have been enough to turn us away, but it sounded perfect at the time. A weekend of hiking, campfires, and disconnecting from the world. It was me, Emma, her boyfriend Mark, and his younger brother Ryan. We all pitched in on the Airbnb cabin. It was cheap, a little too cheap if I'm being honest, but none of us questioned it. The drive up there was fine, just long stretches of trees and back roads. When we finally reached the cabin, I immediately got this weird feeling. The place looked old, like it hadn't been properly lived in for years. But Emma was so excited, and I didn't want to be the buzzkill. The owner had left the key under a loose board on the porch, and the first thing I noticed when we opened the door was the smell. Stale wood, dampness, and something faintly metallic like old pennies. The first day was fun enough. We cooked, played card games, and explored the trails nearby. It wasn't until nightfall that things started feeling off. We were sitting around the fire pit outside, drinking and roasting marshmallows, when Ryan asked if we'd seen the shack. None of us had. He pointed down the slope toward a shadowy patch of trees about 200 yards away. From where we were sitting, I thought I could make out a roof line, but it was too dark to tell. "Let's check it out tomorrow," Emma said, brushing it off. But Ryan wasn't done. He said when he'd gone out earlier to look for firewood, he heard something coming from that direction, like whispering. We laughed it off, assuming he was trying to scare us. But he swore on his life he wasn't joking. That night, I had the hardest time sleeping. The cabin's walls were thin, and the woods seemed alive with sound. Branches cracking, leaves crunching, the occasional owl. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to what I thought was footsteps on the porch. Slow, deliberate. I froze in bed, holding my breath, waiting for someone to knock or try the door. But nothing happened. Eventually, I convinced myself it was an animal and forced myself back to sleep. The next morning, Ryan was gone. His shoes were by the door, his jacket still on the hook. Mark started panicking, but Emma tried to stay calm. He probably went to explore. You know how he is. Still, hours passed, and he didn't come back. We searched the trails, shouting his name, but found nothing. That's when we decided to check out the shack he'd mentioned. It was worse than I expected. The roof sagged, the windows were boarded up, and the door was chained shut from the outside like someone was trying to keep something in. Mark rattled the chain, calling Ryan's name, but there was no answer. I remember looking down at the dirt near the shack and noticing footprints. Dozens of them, bare feet leading in and out of the tree line. My stomach turned cold. We called the police, but as soon as Emma said we were staying at Devil's Hollow, the dispatcher's tone changed. She said they'd send someone when they could, which didn't exactly inspire confidence. With no cell service at the cabin, we had no choice but to wait. Night fell again, and Ryan still hadn't come back. That second night was hell. Mark barely spoke. He just stared out the window with this hollow look on his face. Around midnight, I heard again footsteps on the porch. Only this time, there was more than one set. Emma grabbed my hand, and we sat frozen in the dark living room as the boards creaked under the weight of several people, pacing slowly. Then the whispering started. It was faint, like dozens of voices murmuring at once, and though I couldn't make out words, I felt certain it wasn't English. My skin crawled with goosebumps. We didn't move until it finally stopped, nearly an hour later. At sunrise, Mark was gone. His shoes, his bag, everything was still in the cabin. Just like Ryan. Emma broke down completely, sobbing and begging me to leave with her. We didn't even pack. We just ran for the car, not daring to look back at the cabin. But when we got to the driveway, the Jeep's tires were slashed, for deep cuts in the rubber, like they'd been made with a blade. That was the moment I truly realized we weren't dealing with some prank or lost hikers or anything we could rationalize. Something wanted us there. We ended up running down the road until we found a ranger station. When we explained what happened, the ranger's face went pale. He told us that Devil's Hollow wasn't supposed to be rented out at all, that the land had a history of disappearances stretching back decades. He said locals knew not to go near that shack, and that the Airbnb listing must have been a scam. Emma and I tried to go back with the police later that day, but when we returned, the cabin looked different, like it had been abandoned for years. The porch had collapsed, the windows were shattered, and there was no trace of our stuff, or Mark or Ryan. The case went nowhere. The listing for the cabin disappeared overnight, and no one ever found a shack. The police eventually said Ryan and Mark probably wandered off and got lost in the woods. But Emma and I know better. I'll never forget those whispers. And sometimes when it's really quiet at night, I swear I still hear them.